Hello, everyone. This is your girl Rita, also known as the Gold Digger, coming to you once again with another video. So, your girl recently got a new car at the end of this year, and I am just coming to you because I ended up buying my car in cash. That was a plan all along. So, if you are considering getting a new car, need to get a new car, I am going to be sharing with you my 8 tips on how I purchased my car in cash in order to help you if you need to do the same. So stay tuned. We're about to jump and dive right on in. Real quick as background. So the car I had before, it was like 15 years old. It was 2005. I had had it for about 10 years and it had over 200,000 miles on it. So your girl likes to hold on to her cars, and I love my car. It was very faithful to me, but it was starting to act up on me, and I knew that it was time or soon I would be needing to purchase a new car. So I began saving up my money. So that is pretty much my first tip. It kind of goes without saying, when you know you need to get a car and you are trying to buy it in cash, you need to start saving your money. One of the reasons why I chose to buy it in cash, one, is because I was not trying to get any new debt. Two, I have not had a car payment in probably over 7 years. So I'm like, I'm not trying to have a car payment for that. And I'm trying to stay within my means, stay within my budget, and that kind of thing. So about a year prior, when my car started having some issues and stuff, like little repairs or a big repair here and there or whatever, I knew it was about time for me to get a new car. Also, I was approaching that 200,000 miles. So I was like, I don't know how much more life I can get out of it. So I started saving my money, but I did it about a year prior to it. Now, everybody's situation is different. As y'all know, I do have my own business. At the time, was not getting regular income, so I decided to plan well ahead in advance to save up for my new car. Side note, I am actually still saving up for a new car, but we'll talk about that probably in another video or whatever. So I'm just kind of planning ahead. But yes, save your money. That is tip number one if you're trying to buy a car in cash. Tip number two, when it comes to buying a car in cash, is you need to set a budget. You need to decide, I am not going over this amount. This is what I intend to spend on this new vehicle. So my particular budget, I initially set my budget for $10,000. Now, we're going to talk about this in a minute because I ended up having to change my budget. But because once I started seeing the cars in the 10,000 dollar range, I ended up changing my budget. But set a budget. Know what parameters you are going to be working in. Also set a time frame so you'll know kind of like how you need to save up for this car so that you can achieve your goal or whatever, and so you can make it a little bit more realistic, because if you need to save up 10K, which is what I was trying to do, yeah, I definitely needed a year, just depending on how my income came in. But for you, it might be totally different. So you might be, if your budget is less or more or whatever, you want to just make sure you're setting a realistic timetable too, for you to be able to save up that money and to reach your budget. So that was tip number two. Set your budget, set the parameters of what you want to spend on this new car. All right, tip number three is to do your research. So pretty much when I first started looking, I had about 3 different models in mind that I was considering, and I did my research on them. I kind of knew what price they would fall in. All of them fell within my budget. And also I looked at what kind of mileage I wanted on them, because I didn't want to get a car with a whole lot of miles on it or anything like that. So I'm looking at the mileage, and based off of the particular models, what is the price for that. Also, what I did to do my research is I subscribed to different car websites like Car Gurus. I can't think of some other ones, but Car Gurus is the one that stands out to me. But I was probably subscribed to about at least 2 of them, possibly 3 of them. But there was at least 2 of them that were communicating with me on a regular basis. And by communicating, they would tell me when a new car that fit my criteria, like the particular model, that kind of thing, and in my area came up in my that became available to me. So I had those alerts so I could easily see what was out there, and also that helped me to see what the prices and everything was for them too. So you would know your going rate. One thing I would advise you to do is look outside of your immediate city or your immediate area, because sometimes the prices are different in different areas. So if the price is high where you're located, look outside of that. Now, initially when I looked, I was looking about, it was probably about 300 to 400 miles outside of where I was located, because I was like, as long as I can drive there within a day, I said I would consider it. Now, as time went on and I went to a couple of places to test drive it, I got tired of driving, and I wasn't even driving that far, and I was like, I want to look in this vicinity. But it was still probably within about 150 to 200 miles of where I was. So instead of me being able to travel someplace in 6 hours, I was like, if I can't get there in like 2 to 2.5 hours, I don't want to look at it. After I had test driven a few of them, which leads me to tip number 4: test drive those cars. So I saw some in my price range. I saw some based off of the model that I wanted, that kind of thing. And like I said, my budget was $10K. I test drove the car. The cars that are in the $10K range, they are cute, they look nice, all that, but they don't have the horsepower. So coming from and I'm not, the car I had good horsepower. Like I had a 2005 Maxima. But I was trying to get something more economical, a little bit less expensive. But I realized your girl needs some get up and go, and I need to be able to move in and out of the traffic like I need to. When I get on the interstate, I needed to pick up and go so I can get where I need to be. And some of these cars that I was looking at, I realized, yes, it's in my price range, but I can't see myself driving it. It just doesn't have enough horsepower. So once I realized that, I had to go back and revisit my budget and increase my budget in order to get a car that had enough horsepower for me. So that's also a side note. So like they pretty much are designing pretty much just about every car you see is going to look nice. It's going to have some features in it, that kind of stuff. But if you are concerned about it having get up and go and that kind of thing, then you definitely want to test drive it and make sure it is up to speed and what you want it to do. Okay. But yeah, some of the cars I was driving, like, yeah, they were inexpensive, but they just didn't have any horsepower. All right, now the next tip number 5 is, once you do decide on a car or the model that you want, make sure you have your money in position. So I was saving up this money. Most of the money that I've been saving is in an online bank account or savings account or whatever, and it usually takes 3 business days for me to transfer that large amount of money at a time. Well, it doesn't even matter the amount. It usually just takes 3 business days. So you want to make sure you have the funds in place so you can safely write a check without anything happening. Also, too, make sure the dealerships that you're dealing with, they do accept checks, because there are some that may not accept checks. I did encounter that as well. They only took like debit cards, or they even took credit cards, but it was like only up to a certain limit, one particular place. But you want to look into that and see, do you need to bring in all cash? Can you write out a check? Are they going to take your check? And what's the limitations and the stipulations on that in regards to the check? So get your money in position so that you know how to purchase a car and are able to purchase a car, because it's something that you don't really think about, especially when we are so used to financing your car. Like my first car, the car I had previously, I did end up financing it. So you don't think, what kind of money do I need to bring? What kind of check do I need to bring? Do I need to maneuver my money? So just take that into consideration. Get your money in position. And like I said, I was looking for, it took me several months to find my car, because like I said, I saw some, I test drove them, that kind of stuff, realized that wasn't the case. So there were times where I went to the dealership and I was like, okay, this is what I want, test drive it. I put my money in position, and then like I said, when I test drove that car, I realized I I don't want to buy that because it's not up to my speed, literally. So I had already transferred my money over, and it was probably another month before I ended up purchasing my actual car or my actual vehicle or whatever. So get your money in position. And with it being an online savings account, you do tend to make a little bit more interest. Things have definitely changed due to the pandemic. You don't get as much interest, but you don't want it to be sitting there forever where you could possibly be missing out on some of the interest. So get your money in position. All right, tip number 6 I have is to factor in unexpected expenses or unexpected costs. So you want to look at your state tax. Like, what is the tax that you're going to have to pay for your state? The state that I am in, after a certain amount, like once your car is valued at a certain amount, they just have a flat fee that you would pay in terms of car tax or whatever. And you want to know what that is, because that is definitely going to be added to the price. It's like, it's not something you can get around. It's like when you go to the store and you got to pay tax on whatever you're buying or whatever. So factor that in and see what it is for your state. Certain states, they'll have a percentage. So based off of whatever value the car is, you might have to pay, I'm just throwing out a number, 2% on top of that, 1%, something like that. But yes, my state capped it at a certain level, but that is an unexpected cost that you might not take into consideration. Another unexpected cost that you might not consider is your insurance. Your insurance is probably going to increase. Like, I had a 15-year-old car. The insurance on that is a lot less than on a new car. Also, too, you typically, like when I purchased my first car, like I said, I financed it, and you had to have full coverage because that is what was required, since it wasn't my car. They wanted, to have full coverage in case something happened to it. I would still say, even if you pay for your car in cash, you should probably still have full coverage. Depending on the value of the car. Like, probably if your car is only worth like $2,000, $3,000 that you're paying in cash, you probably don't want to have full coverage. But once again, that depends on you. But probably if your car is like 7, 8 and up, thousand, and like, these are just arbitrary numbers based off of what I'm saying, you probably want to have full coverage on it. Basically, you want to have full coverage if you don't have that money in the bank to buy another car if you got into an accident, okay? Because that is what full coverage is. Because even when you finance the car or whatever, say if you got into an accident, what do? If your car was valued at $20,000, 2 years from now you end up getting into an accident, the car is only valued at, I don't know, $16,000 or whatever, but you've already made $10,000 worth of payments on the car or whatever. Guess what? They're going to cut a check to whoever your financing company is, whoever your bank is, or whoever's holding the note on your car for the $16,000 that the car is worth. And because you've made $10,000 worth of payments, you will eventually get a check up for the remaining $6,000. So since I paid for my car in cash, if I was to get into an accident and say my car was valued at $16,000, guess who gets the check? I am going to get the full check for $16,000 so I can purchase a car. So get full coverage insurance on your car, and it's probably going to be more expensive because, like I said, my old car, I just had liability. But get full coverage insurance if you don't have cash in the bank for you to go out and purchase another car like that again, okay? So those are some unexpected expenses that you might not take into consideration. Tip number 7 is to avoid no haggle places. So I avoided those places like the plague. Because you don't want to haggle. I want to know, what is the haggle price? Like, if I was to haggle, let me know. And in my situation, I went to a place that was like a no haggle price, thinking, because they say you're going to get the best deal possible, all that kind of stuff. By the time they tacked on other expenses, it was about $2,000 more than what was advertised, okay, online or whatever. And so, yeah, it's a no haggle price, but they're adding all this other stuff on there, and then you can't even negotiate the price. I want to be able to negotiate my price for my vehicle, which brings me to the next tip. Tip number 8 is to know how to negotiate. Now, your girl, I did pretty good. So I will say, so my car cost almost, I'm just going to let y'all know, it cost almost $15,000. Um, it was advertised online for $14,400, and I ended up paying $14,800 for the car, and that's including the tax. And my tax was like $300 or $400. I can't remember. So I negotiated with that. Now, when I say know how to negotiate, that's why you need to know the cost of your state's car tax on that. Know about, they have doc fees, and that is where for all the paperwork, or they're called doc fees or document fees, or also known as administration fees. You want to pay attention to that and look at all those extra costs. So, and I did see that. I remember when we were negotiating with the particular salesperson that the admin fees were one price when they were quoting me a higher price, and he went back and came down with a lower price, but the doc fees went up. So I could have pushed the issue and be like, hey, this increase, even though you came down on this or whatever. But I didn't push the issue because I already knew I was getting a good deal on the car for the mileage it had, for the year, the make and model it had. And that's why it's important to do your research, as mentioned before, so you can already know the going rate of the car. Also, like I said, I went to a no haggle place, and I pretty much looked at this same identical cars. Like the one I ended up getting had like $5,000 more, not $5,000, 5,000 more miles than the one I ended up passing on or whatever, but mine had tinted windows and that kind of stuff. But they were pretty much nearly identical. One was at a no haggle place where they were quoting me, like I said, about $2,000, I think it was like $2,500 more, versus the other place where I could negotiate with them and I pretty much got a better deal. Other things you want to consider, and these, like I said, these are just my tips from my experience, is you want to see what the perks are of the dealership. So like with the dealership I went to, they have a lifetime warranty on the transmission and engine. And yo, I like to hold on to my car, so I'm probably going to have it for 10 years. So if that engine goes out, the transmission goes out, and I had to have a transmission partially rebuilt before with my other car, guess what? They will cover it as long as you're maintaining it, getting their oil changed and all that kind of stuff regularly. So look at what other perks that the dealership may offer. Do they offer free oil changes, free car washes, that kind of thing? See what other perks they offer, and don't be afraid to ask them, like, what sets your dealership apart from others, because they would like to brag on themselves and say, well, hey, we're better than this because we can do X, Y, and Z, that kind of thing. Or they should want to brag on themselves. And they should want to get your business, which is another thing to consider. You want to work with a salesperson who seems motivated, like somebody who is in constant contact with you, who like just goes the extra mile and seems friendly with you. There was one particular salesperson, and it wasn't like he wasn't friendly or anything like that, but I test drove the car, and that was one of the cars that I said that I didn't want to get or whatever. And I told him, this is what I would like to get or whatever. And he was still emailing me about the car that I really didn't want. So, which just tells me he wasn't paying attention to me. He's just trying to make a sale. Like, he's really not trying to get me what I really want. So go with someone who is motivated and pays attention to what you're asking for. The other tip I would say is go towards the end of the month, because these people get sales commissions, and they maybe they're trying to reach their sales quota or their sales goal, and they are more motivated to sell you a car at the end of the year. All right, that is all I have. Those were my 8 tips. I'm not even going to recap them or anything like that because the video has gotten kind of lengthy. But yeah, I bought my new car in cash. I'm happy for it. I'm going to hold on to it for at least 10, maybe 15 years. And it should last me because it had very low miles on it. All right. Is anyone considering buying a car soon? Let me know if you think these tips are helpful. Have you thought about any of this stuff when it comes to buying a car? All right. And don't forget to like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more good content from me. All right. This is your girl, Rita, also known as the Gold Digger. Take care, everyone.